taking a nice sip. Welcome back to Sippin With Sin. Hope everybody is doing awesome. Thanks for tuning in to our weekly podcast episodes. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but yeah. So that's the kind of week it's been. But welcome back, everybody. Happy to have you. Hope everybody has had a wonderful week. Thank you for the love on the previous episodes. We do truly, truly appreciate it. But we have a fun podcast in store for you today. So without further ado, let's get to the one and only co-host of it, Mr. Christian himself. Christian, welcome back, sir.
Hello, everyone. It feels so good to be back for another episode. We got a lot to talk about today, so I guess we should get right into it, huh?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, as we like to do every episode, it's kind of our tradition. We like to know what everyone's been watching, reading, listening to, or playing this week. And Christian, do you want to take us away and start it off?
Absolutely. So I've been reading a little this week, a lot actually. Reading stuff from last week and then a couple things from this week, but I only wanted to touch on 3 things really quickly. They're all comics. So I've been reading X-Men Red. Issue 1 just came out recently, and I read that and really enjoyed it. I haven't really been a big X-Men fan as of late, but Storm is really good in this issue. And spoiler alert, she is recreating the Brotherhood, so that's been really cool.
What's the Brotherhood?
And the Brotherhood of Mutants, for people who are uninitiated, that is the group that Magneto started way back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I read was Beyond White Knight. That was a great first issue. If you've been keeping up with that kind of storyline, it's been great. They've had the White Knight, they've had Curse of the White Knight, and then they have Beyond White Knight. And we get Batman Beyond in this story, so that's cool. I've always been a huge fan of Batman Beyond. I've always been a huge fan of Terry McGinnis, so it's really good to see him in a futuristic story that still has Bruce Wayne not as an old man. So that's been really, really cool to see. I can't wait to see what issue 2 is going to bring, because we get the Joker coming back in this. So I'm just really excited to see where that comic goes. And then the last comic that I wanted to bring up that I read this week was another Batman Beyond comic. It's called Batman Beyond Neo Gotham. It's a 1 issue in, and I was really excited to read that. The first issue was it was pretty okay. It was average. Nothing really cool happened in the issue, but I gotta say, whoever's doing the art for that issue is really killing it, and I'd buy it alone just for the art. So that's been really cool. And also, really, one more thing, reading Batman Beyond White Knight, like that was the hardest issue 1 to collect in recent memory. Like trying to find that is almost impossible. So good luck.
Okay. All right. So lots of comics.
Yeah.
All right then. Is that all you've been into this week?
I've been watching some stuff, but I wanted to see if you were reading anything as well.
Me reading? Nah. I read chat every day. That's about the extent of my reading. And I read the internet, like stuff that's going on, but no books yet. I can't lie. I do. After our conversation last week, I actually am interested in possibly finding some Moon Knight something to kind of get into, because I am intrigued by it. But we'll kind of get more into Moon Knight stuff in a minute. But I have been thinking about searching for some Moon Knight comics or something. And I may have to pick your brain on which ones exactly I should go for, like which volume or something, just to kind of get my toes wet, if you will.
Oh yeah, I got you on that. No problem.
All right.
So as far as like watching goes, of course, we've both seen a couple things together. I mean, not like sitting in the same room. We both watched a few things together. But I've also been, of course, staying fast on watching Game of Thrones. I am now deep off into season 4, and I'm almost done. Like I just finished the episode Watchers on the Wall. That's the episode where, for those of you guys who have seen Game of Thrones already, that's the episode where the wildlings come to storm the gates of Castle Black, and everybody's freaking out, and nobody's listening to Jon, and then everybody who didn't listen to Jon dies, essentially, because he was right all along. And the episode before that, I think it was called, like, The Mountain and the Red Viper, I think is what it's called, or The Viper and the Mountain, I think is what it's called. But that's the episode where Tyrion finally gets his champion to fight for him because he was wrongly accused of killing King Joffrey the douche. And Oberyn Tyrell decides that he's going to fight for Tyrion. He does, and it doesn't end the way that you hoped it would end. So the Mountain is a very strong man.
Slightly.
So watching that episode again, it was like, oh God, I know exactly where this is going. It's already hurting my stomach. I'm so glad I haven't eaten anything that contains pasta. And bam, that happened. So, watching Game of Thrones is always great. I will say one thing about rewatching Game of Thrones is I'm watching Daenerys really closely in this, and like they paint her out to be this kind of white savior person in the show, and like all the stuff that she's doing, you're like behind her, right? She's freeing all kinds of slaves and doing all this stuff. Her dragons are doing all their things, but she's a little crazy. She definitely doesn't mind killing people she thinks that have slighted her in any way. So
That's why I never got into her.
it's making
I could see like
Yeah.
the Mad King in her early, and just like you could see how power hungry and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, you don't really start putting those pieces together until you get to like season, I want to say like season 2, late season 2, and then into season 3. Definitely this season 4 is when you really see it. Because she like kills a bunch of masters and has their bodies, I guess, put on pikes to rot in the sun, because that's what they did to slaves who tried to escape or whatever. So she just kind of did the same thing. And a guy comes and challenges her. He was like, hey, my father's up there on one of those pikes. In our tradition, when somebody dies, is we have a proper burial so that their body can go to the afterworld, their spirit can go to the afterworld. So like, I would like to have my father's body back. And she's like really hesitant at first, and then kind of feels bad about what she's doing. So she lets him take the father's body or whatever. But like in that episode, I was like, wow, this motherfucker's crazy. So anyway, in this world, a lot of people are crazy. You got Arya traveling with the Hound, and all they do is, talk crap to each other and save each other. So I mean, there's a lot going on, and I'm just really excited to get even deeper into the show again. Sans the last season, of course.
okay. All right. And one thing that always got me with everybody on that was people saying like, oh, I never saw her turning, like they just turned her so quick. And I was like, not really. If you watch her, I mean, it's like season 1, they pour gold over her brother's head and she doesn't bat an eye. Like there was signs there. You just weren't paying attention that she had some stuff.
I will say here, like my hot take, I guess, for that is when people say like she's been crazy the whole time, I do agree with them, but a lot of the times where Dany did something really crazy, really, really, really unforgivable in the show paints it to always be to people that are just despicable in the show. Like she doesn't just kill random people and civilians and even slaves. She's always killing people that are doing like the worst to others. So that's why I guess for even for me, that when I first saw that magical episode in season 8, where she's completely insane, it does feel like a turn, but it feels like a turn because everybody that she's killed or had killed in the show prior, they weren't innocent. Something was going on. It was just like if, for an example, if Punisher just went to a diner and just shot everybody up at the diner and then left, and none of them were gangsters or anything. He just killed them all and then left. That's what it felt like.
We know Punisher's never like after power, though. That's the thing about her. Like that's her whole purpose in life. It's all she cares about is being the queen. And you can just see it like gradual steps starting from the beginning. Like at each diabolical act, even if it's against a villain, all you see like it doesn't phase her, and she almost has like that serial killer-ish, like expressionless, whatever. It is what it is kind of thing. And you can see it progressively building up to me. So when it happened, I was like, I mean, look at her bloodline. Look what she come from. Look at what she's done. Is it really that shocking that she ended up like that?
It is. I got to disagree because that's like me saying, hey, this kid that we grew up with, his dad was a serial killer, so he's going to be one too because it's in his blood. Like that's not necessarily fair to say.
Well, no, but if he's killing people like without mercy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though. She wasn't though. She didn't want power. She didn't want to be queen. She didn't want power. She didn't want to go to Westeros. Like none of that. She didn't want that. She gained power because of her brother and who he was, and then who her first husband was. Khal Drogo, and like with that power that she gained, the power is what turned her. It wasn't her being crazy because she was born crazy. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like we've seen that in so many stories. So I think that's what people didn't enjoy about that last season, because she had all this power and she was a queen and she did have like 17 titles to her name when we got to the final season of the show. But when she started out, she was just a meek, quiet girl who just wanted to be, left alone. She wanted her brother to stop touching her. She wanted her brother to stop being a dick, but that didn't happen because her brother was a piece of shit. And then she gets a little bit of power later and she tries to use it to help herself, because remember, in the first season, the only reason why she's doing any of the things that she's doing is because she's pregnant and she wants, to be a mom. She wants to have a life with Khal Drogo, and she wants their son to be whatever the prophecy was for him. I can't remember anymore.
Was it Great Stallion or something like that?
What's that?
Great Stallion or something like that?
Yeah, that's what
something
he
stallion,
was.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the stallion that I don't remember. It was some crazy shit. But with all that said, like the whole point of me saying all this was she didn't start out that way. She got power. She used it to help Khal Drogo, really, and then herself a little bit because she didn't really have friends. And then she kept gaining more and more power and the dragons and all that. And then after a while, that power went to her head, and in the worst way, just like it went to the, I guess her great grandfathers, whatever. It went all those people who went crazy with power. Look at Cersei, same way. Cersei was
Cersei's a piece of shit from the start. What do you mean? You can't defend Cersei.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, like, look at what happened with that power. So imagine. So look, a perfect example. I'll do it this way. Jamie had all the power in the world he needed to have. He was a piece of shit when the show started. But when he doesn't have that power anymore, when he got captured, when he just doing this and doing that and started hanging out with other people that weren't rich, like Brienne, and they were positive influences on him, he became a better person. So it was good to see that. Tyrion had a lot of power too, but he also was like the butt of every joke. They called him a monster. They called him the imp. They do all this and that. So he was a nicer person because he was humbled in that sense. So I think that if Daenerys had more people in her corner that really gave a shit about her, like if there were more Jorah Mormonts, for her, then it would have been better. And Tyrion was a good example of what she could be. But like I said, that power goes to her head, and then all her dragons die, and she's mad with power. She's sick, and they're like her children. So, that's hurting. And I get it. Like, I'm not trying to defend her actions by any means. And I'm sorry if that's what it sounds like. I'm just saying, I think that she wasn't totally crazy to begin with. I think she got a taste of power. It went to her head, and she'd been treated so badly most of her life. So, I mean, like I said, I get why she made some of the decisions she makes. I will never stand her making the decisions she made, killing, women and children the way that she did. But, the way there, the fall that she made, definitely, like, we saw that emerge after a while. Like, it took a while for her to become this crazy person.
I mean, so she was never really as meek as you make her out to be, though. Like, yeah, she may have been quieter around her brother, but you can't tell me some meek little weak girl is going to sit there and watch her brother's face just be burned off without batting an eye. And like a lot of the things she does, she doesn't even like show remorse later. Like it doesn't really faze her. She's like, done.
It did. Like for an example, with the guy who I was just talking about, who was saying like, hey, my father was one of the masters, but he spoke out against the masters, and you had him, killed and put on his body on this spike out here to, rot in the sun, blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand what you did because of the position that you were in, but he's still my dad, and he didn't want the world that he lived in, but he played the game. So he died playing the game, and I want to take his body home so that we can put him to rest. She felt bad. She felt like a monster because she was becoming a monster. So she does have remorse, but the show, because they want us to like her up until the end, all of the people that she kills or has killed or, whatever, all those people in the show, like they're all evil in a sense. They're all very, very mean. They're bad. You know, they're villains. So we're on board with her. So that's the difference I'm trying to make there. And in the book, it's different. In the book, she's crazy. The book, her dragons don't listen to her. She's not as meek. But in the show, they wanted her to be this savior character. So they.
Well, I never fell for the smoke and mirrors. Never fell for it. I mean, I didn't really. She was honestly, like, from the start, she was never really one of my favorite characters. I don't know what it was about her, but I was just kind of like, eh. Like, I didn't want really her to have power, if that made sense. Like, I'd much rather a Tyrion or someone else have the power than her.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I like
Tyrion was a top tier character for me, though.
I think if Tyrion is not at least your second favorite character watching the show, something's wrong. Now, reading the books, I can understand if Tyrion is nowhere near your favorite character list because he's completely different in the books than he is in the show. But in the show, yeah, he is god tier character wise.
Yeah. Well, we got on a nice little tangent.
But I guess we should move on.
Yeah,
we did.
Forget Daenerys. Nobody likes her. Just kidding. Okay, so that's what you've been watching. You've been watching lovely Game of Thrones. I've been on the other end of the spectrum, probably down a terrible rabbit hole I shouldn't have done, but I made the mistake, like so many others during COVID, that I watched Tiger King, right? So, recently, on Peacock, I don't know when exactly this come out, start of March maybe, so maybe a month ago, Joe versus Carol come out, and I was bored the other day and I was like, hey, let me turn it on. Well, I've been watching that, and yeah, it's about everything you could expect it would be, considering it's based on the Tiger King. John Cameron's playing Joe Exotic, Kate McKinnon is playing Carol Baskins, and she does a fantastic job. Like, if you close your eyes and just listen to her talk, you actually think you hear Carol Baskins, and just the mannerisms, how weird and quirky she is. The Mayhem guy is Jeff Lowe, which really threw me off because I actually thought it was Jeff Lowe for a minute when he come on screen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, "Damn, is he playing himself?" And then I saw it, and I was like, "Wait, that's Mayhem dude." Like, you know, from the commercials, the Mayhem commercials or whatever. But the show is literally everything you would pretty much expect it to be if you watch Tiger King. The shit show that is that show and that world. I mean, pretty much all the characters from the show are in it that I've seen so far. I don't know how many episodes are left. I'm on like episode 7. But yeah, I've been watching that. I have started a show that has been out for a long time and I know a lot of people love. I might be starting season 2. I don't think there's many episodes season 1, but Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I've always heard good things. Never really watched it. Maybe a little bit here and there in passing, but nothing crazy. But I'm actually trying to start watching it. And so far it's pretty funny. Started that though this week. Me and the missus been watching some of it.
I remember that show. I watched it like religiously when it first started up until about season 6 or 7, and then I kind of fell off. But yeah, I really enjoyed that when it was on TV.
Okay. It's so far it's pretty good though. Like, it's, you know, solid show. I don't know if something was just playing in the background or not right there. I don't know what that was. But
I didn't hear anything.
Do what?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, well, you probably wouldn't hear anything anyways. Shh, not for you. Secret stuff. But also, the other thing I've been watching, as I'm sure you have, and this is going to go into our first segment, Moon Knight, episode 2. Just watched that yesterday, time of filming this. It come out yesterday, and we watched it yesterday. I've been watching that, and like I said, the more I'm watching it, the more I'm wanting to read the comics, and I'm wanting to find Moon Knight stuff. I really, really like it, and I really enjoyed the second episode, including the appearance of one that you were telling us about, Mr. Knight. We saw him. You learn more about Khonshu a little bit, and about Ethan Hawke's character, and I really like it. I really do. Like, it actually has me fascinated, you know, to the point where the episode ends, I'm like, God, I wish I had another one. Like, I just want to consume Moon Knight content, you know? Like, I really am liking it so far, and the missus feels the same, and we keep learning stuff, and I guess I'm going to go ahead and drop a small spoiler, which I guess is really not a spoiler before Christian goes on his tangent, but I did not see Layla, first off, knowing that Mark was Moon Knight. I didn't really expect that for some reason. I don't know why, and I also did not expect that to be his wife. So that happened, and I was like, oh, Okay. Well, that's interesting. But I really enjoyed the episode, though. You got to see more Moon Knight. You got to see Mr. Knight. And that was pretty cool. I think, so I'm guessing what they're doing, and this is my opinion, and I'm sure Christian's about to come just tell me I'm completely wrong, but Mark is Moon Knight. So when essentially Mark is in control, you have Moon Knight. He can become Moon Knight. When Steven's in control, you'll get Mr. Knight, is what it seems like they're doing. It seems like they're pairing their, like, normal self with one of, like, the special whatever abilities. It's kind of the vibe I got. I don't know if that's how they're going to continue it, but that's kind of how they showed it this episode. But yeah, what did you think about episode 2?
I think that you're right with what you just said for sure. So I just wanted to get out of the way first.
Is that in the comics like that? Do they pair like a certain persona? I'm trying to think of the correct word for his personalities.
Alters.
Okay, so each alter, does it have a version of Moon Knight? Is what I was kind of getting at.
No.
Okay, so that's the show.
Exactly what I'm here to talk about. Yeah, the show has taken several liberties with the character and with the backstory. A lot of the stuff that we've seen is coming out of what it seems to be the Jeff Lemire run, I believe. But it doesn't even matter what run it's coming from. The thing is, Mr. Knight is Moon Knight. They're the same person. So when Steven becomes Mr. Knight and is super goofy, that is not in the comics. Not at all. And it's very, very, very weird. It's just like, so you remember in the Justice League, the shitty one, in Justice League when Batman was like,
I like
really
how you're
bright.
saying that, by the way.
Yeah. You remember how Batman was like making a bunch of jokes and smiling a lot and doing a bunch of stuff Batman doesn't do, and it just felt weird.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I felt like watching Mr. Knight be a fucking goofy ass dude, just dancing around in the street, being like, oh my God, I knocked him out. Float like a butterfly, oh my God. Like, that was so annoying to me because Mr. Knight is just like Moon Knight. They're the same alter, essentially. Like, Moon Knight uses the Mr. Knight persona when he's working with the police and doing detective work and talking to people and scaring the shit out of them by talking. And then when he needs to beat the dog shit out of somebody, that's when he switches into his Moon Knight costume proper, and he does that. Matter of fact, there's a comic that came out like 3 months ago for the current run where he looks at this guy and he's like, hey, I know who you are. You're a Spider-Man villain. I'm not Spider-Man. I will kill you. And like, that's legit like what he does. Moon Knight doesn't care. Moon Knight will absolutely kill bad guys, 100%. So he's very serious in that. So when you see Mr. Knight's character, he's supposed to be really smooth and suave and a detective and like never loses his cool. When you see him being a complete goofy ass person, like Steven, it was just very, very off-putting for me. And I didn't know how to feel about it when I was watching the episode. I was just like, I don't know if I like this or not. Why are they marveling this? Like, usually I let it go when people complain about Marvel making characters too funny, right? Because we all loved Thor when he was funny more so than when he was serious, right? And that's just because when you have a character like Thor and it's just serious all the time, it can get boring. I understand that. And Chris Hemsworth is really funny. So having a funny Thor works. It just makes sense. Okay, cool. Great. But like when you make every character funny, like Loki's funny, Captain America's funny, Iron Man's also funny, Bucky's funny now. Like everybody's funny. It takes away from the actual comedy of the show. The comedy could have just been Steven, even though Steven isn't a comedic character in the comic. In the comics, Steven is just Bruce Wayne. He's rich. He's a philanthropist. He's out here flirting with people. He's doing his thing. That's who Steven is. So when they made that change in the first episode, I was like, okay, I guess they're going a different route, and that's fine. But then you have Steven in that goofy persona being Mr. Knight. I'm not really feeling it. But looking at a lot of the promotional art for the show, I don't know if that's going to be where they go show for the entirety of the run, because in promotional images you see two versions of Mr. Knight. You see Mr. Knight like holding his collar and being like really smooth, kind of like Bane almost in that aspect with the pose, and then you see the goofier Mr. Knight that we just saw. So I'm hoping that that's not necessarily the case, and they do make jokes about it. They make light of it, like Steven, what are we wearing? We look like a psycho Colonel Sanders. Like, yeah, that was funny in the moment, but like, did we need that? I don't think so, because this moment could have been super, scary, right? He's fighting this jackal Anubis looking thing that just got summoned from what I'm assuming is the underworld, and he's cracking jokes. And like, we didn't need him to crack jokes. We could have had him just turn into Mr. Knight and she's the whole episode's called Summon the Suit. So we could have had him summon the suit. It could have been Mr. Knight. He could have been doing detective stuff, or he could have just straight up been Moon Knight and killed this thing like he ended up doing later in the episode. So it was just really off-putting for me. I don't know how I feel about it. Mark's wife in this show, Lila, I think is her name. She's like made from the show. There is a character that is a love interest to Mark in the earlier Moon Knight runs that he's with. Her name isn't Lila, so I think that they just changed it for the show. I'm not necessarily sure why it was changed, but whatever, it's fine. Them being married in the sense like that they've been doing this for years, like it kind of makes sense to me because she was the original character, not Lila. The original character was there when Mark died, and then got contacted by Khonshu, and then came back as Moon Knight and all that. So she would know that. That makes sense to me. So I get that piece. And then Arthur being the former fist of Khonshu, like that's not in the comics either. So that's different. But that didn't bother me. I kind of enjoyed that, because that's a quick way for them to give you backstory without a character just, dumping information out of nowhere. So I was okay with that. That was a welcome change. And I do like him kind of saying that, Khonshu is a god that, got kicked out of the pantheon and he's throwing tantrums. And the only thing he can do without possessing your body essentially is, making wind blow really hard and knocking shit over. He's just a ghost. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect. So the villain of the show, I'm really enjoying. Moon Knight himself, I'm really enjoying. Mark Spector, I'm really enjoying. It's just the Stephen Grant persona is very different, and I'm trying to like just stay on board with that. And the missed switch up just kind of pissed me off. So I'm trying to just let it go, because Marvel tends to do this all the time, so it shouldn't be new to me. It's just kind of off-putting. It's like when you make Batman super silly in a serious setting. It just doesn't quite work. So I'm trying to get over that, but that's how I feel about episode 2. I liked most of the episode. The episode was great. The acting's still really good. I enjoy most of the characters. I just don't like all the change-ups.
Gotcha. And I like how you worded it. It was very Marvelized. Like, Marvel really does. I don't know if the comedy is to make it more friendly for like younger audiences, because they definitely target the younger audience. There's no denying it. Like, Marvel has made who knows how much money off of like Avengers and stuff like that. Of course they have like moments, but I do think they target the younger audience. Where DC, to me, hopefully what they're trying to do now is what they should have been doing, going after a little older of the audience, like a little more mature with a little darker content. But I definitely get the Marvelized, because there's a lot of stuff like if you watch, like, I'm going to use the new Batman, compared to, I don't know, just throw a Marvel movie out there. Marvel's going to be brighter, and it is going to have a lot more comedic relief, for sure.
Yeah.
Batman is more serious, dark, dreary, like, brutal, like, that, I don't know. So I definitely get what you're saying with Marvelized. I didn't know there was that big of a difference, but again, I haven't really read the comics with Steven. But so
Stephen Grant, yeah, you should definitely look into the comics. We'll talk about that, off air, I'm sure. But like the comics for Moon Knight are pretty good. Not every single one is good, but Moon Knight's a cool character. He's fun. He's often contributed to being Marvel's version of Batman, and I think that Marvel knows that. The studio knows that, so they made him funny to kind of take away from that. That's what I'm assuming. But like I said, not every single change they make is going to stick. Not all the jokes land. And I don't think that, Stephen Grant's character needs to be funny. I don't think that Moon Knight needs to have a bunch of comedy in it. It doesn't always work. And there are definitely shows that Marvel has put out, and movies as well, that have that kind of comedic relief, but they don't always work. And it's because you don't need them, Like, we're fighting. There's a comedic moment that I always think about in Endgame that wasn't necessary, but it worked to break up the tension. And it's when they're fighting Thanos for the very last time, and Steve summons Mjolnir again, but he actually gets Stormbreaker, the giant axe. And Thor's like, no, you take the little one, you give me the the big one, and they like switch back. Like, that's funny. It was really quick, and it broke up the tension just a little bit because these guys are getting their asses kicked by Thanos. So that was a welcome kind of change to what happens in the comics and the mood of the movie that we're watching.
They just overdo it though.
So yeah, but like making Mark Spector just this hard ass and Stephen Grant the absolute opposite of what he is doesn't necessarily need to happen. And we haven't even gotten his third alter, which is Jake Lockley. And I don't know if we will get him or not, but Jake Lockley is his personality is like a cab driver who keeps his ears low to the ground, and he's trying to figure out what's happening, street level all the time. So we get that persona in the comics as well, and we don't have that either. So I'm just kind of curious to see where Marvel goes. Like, this is only a 6-episode series. We've gotten 2 episodes, so we don't have much left in that. We've only got 4 episodes left, so I think that they're trying to keep the story grand enough, but also small enough so that they don't get too far ahead of themselves. And we're supposed to be getting a Werewolf by Night kind of teaser at the end of this. So I'm excited for that. And that could lead into Midnight Suns, which we talked about already. So there's a lot in this show that I'm looking forward to. Mr. Knight being what he was in this just wasn't necessarily it.
Well, maybe he'll evolve.
So we'll see.
Fingers crossed he'll evolve and be more what he should be.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I'd really like to see Marvel, give a character some love the same way they gave other characters that they have in their pantheon some love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to kind of bring this to a conclusion is Marvel's Moon Knight should feel like Daredevil felt in his show. I know that was on Netflix. I know it was way darker than it's going to be, but that's more like what Moon Knight is: beating the hell out of people, blood, getting back up again, doing all this crazy stuff. Like, that's more so the feeling that you should get from Moon Knight. And I'm not saying it needs to be the Marvel Daredevil show. It needs to be the Netflix Daredevil show, It just needs to have the kind of atmosphere of that. It is very bright, and the CGI is really wonky at times, and I'm just kind of letting that go. Marvel has enough money to make that CGI look impeccable, and they're not. So that kind of speaks volumes.
And they're overdoing some of the CGI, I think, a little bit in parts. I'm just like,
yeah. I think you're right. I also believe that in my mind, they have to be keeping the CGI budget to a minimum because it's going to be something big later. So I'm hoping that they're keeping that CGI budget small right now because we're going to get Werewolf by Night at the end, and there's the budget for him. I'm hoping that's what happens. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But about Moon Knight episode.
I would like Werewolf by Night. I would be really excited for that. But I think that's going to conclude that topic. We're going to move along. And we're going to do a quick recap. A couple episodes ago, we did now I'm stuck on Werewolf by Night. Thanks, Christian. WrestleMania preview where we did picks and stuff like that. So I just want to kind of briefly go over the results and kind of compare to Christian's results, and we'll see how he did, if he did well in his picks or if he just flopped miserably. So with that being said, I'm going to do this pretty quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. We're just going to kind of go over who won and all that stuff, and then just maybe a few thoughts, and that'd be about it for this segment. But the first match, we had the Usos versus Nakamura and them. And Usos come out on top. Rick Boogs had a pretty nasty injury, so hopefully he recovers quick. He tore his, quad to patella tendon, I think, or something. Just kind of buckled trying to do a spot, and it was pretty rough. Felt bad for the man. But the Usos win. Christian picked the Usos, so there's one for Christian. McIntyre versus Corbin. McIntyre come out on top. Let's see. I'm trying to find... Okay, yeah, you picked McIntyre as well. Miz, Logan Paul against Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and Christian was right again. So he's 3 for 3 as Miz and Logan Paul come out with a big win. And then Miz having the turn on Logan Paul after the match, which was pretty funny. Logan Paul, brief note, actually kind of impressed me. He looked pretty good in there, which was something I didn't want to say or admit because I'm not a fan, but I will have to give the devil his due. Do what?
Yeah, he's got the look. He's got the body.
He could be a really good heel. I will give him that. Yes. Him just being himself is a good heel.
Agreed. He's pretty much the Miz.
Yeah, and he was athletic. Like, he pulled some nice moves. Like, we all were like, well, damn. I mean, he actually did much better than I expected. But moving along, we also had Cody Rhodes making his appearance like we kind of predicted and hoped. And he defeated Seth Rollins. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you picked Cody. I don't see on the list.
I did.
You picked Cody. So
I
you're
did
4
pick
for
Cody.
4 right now, right? Are you keeping track of your score?
Yeah, I'm keeping track.
Okay, so you're 4 for 4. And then we had Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, and Bianca defeated Becky. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I want to say this is probably my match of the card of both nights. I thought both women did a fantastic job. This is back-to-back times I think Bianca was the match of the night. Last Mania, her and Sasha was great. This one with Becky Lynch, I thought she did a great job as well. So Bianca becomes the new Raw Women's Champion, beating Becky. Charlotte Flair defeated Ronda Rousey, keeping her belt, which kind of didn't see that. I expected Ronda to win.
That's the first one. That's the first one I missed because I said Ronda was going to win that.
And then our main event of the night was Stone Cold appearing on the Kevin Owens show, which turned into a no-holds-barred match in which Stone Cold won. Obviously, you bring Stone Cold back, it'd be kind of hard for us to expect him not to win. But that was very entertaining and a really cool main event. I actually really enjoyed it. Kevin Owens did a great job selling and helping Stone Cold with whatever limitations he may have. And Stone Cold did really good for someone that hadn't wrestled in 19 years and all that. So it was a fun, entertaining match. Definitely made me want one of his beers. Maybe we'll have it on the show sometime. His new American lagers, Broken Skull American Lager. It looked delicious. Night 2, we had RK Bro defeating the Street Profits and Alpha Academy. You picked the Street Profits, it looks like. So there's your second miss. Bobby Lashley defeating Omos, which we didn't even have on the card because we didn't know about it. So we don't get that one. Johnny Knoxville defeated Sami Zayn, which is a shocker because I'm pretty sure we both said Sami.
We did.
That was crazy. That was more of just like, that was just an entertaining match. A lot of jackass stuff in it. Jackass people making appearances and a lot of crazy props and stuff. It was very entertaining, though. I'll give them that. Very entertaining. Sasha Banks and Naomi defeated Carmella, Queen Zelina, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler. Can't talk. Pretty sure we had Liv and Rhea, so we were wrong on that one. Edge defeated AJ Styles. And I think we were wrong on... no, actually, you picked Edge. You were right on that one. You had that one. And Edge gets the entrance of the night from me. Edge's entrance was really freaking cool. I liked it a lot. Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch defeated the New Day in pretty much a squash match. It was supposed to be on night 1 and got cut for time constraints, and they put it on night 2 later in the card, and it was over in a minute and 40 seconds. The match lasted a minute and 40 seconds. Like, it was literally a squash match. It was bad. I kind of felt bad for all people involved in that, but so there was that one. Pat McAfee defeated Austin Theory, but then Mr. McMahon got in the ring to a huge ovation, and with Austin Theory defeated Pat McAfee. So he had a turn. And then Austin come out and pretty much stunned everybody, essentially. And one of the worst stunners ever by Mr. McMahon. He botched it so hard, but it was hilarious. And Austin had another moment. More beer was drank. So there was that one. And then in our main event, Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar in the biggest match of WrestleMania history. Kind of a rushed ending, I felt like. I don't know if the rumor... Like, I've seen some pictures that Roman may have got hurt. He seemed fine the next night on Raw. But I don't know. I do feel like they rushed the ending kind of quickly. I don't know what that was about, but wasn't a bad match. But yeah, so that was the card. How'd you do? What was your final score?
I did super well. I think I only missed the Street Profits win. I missed Rhea and Liv. I missed Ronda. So I only missed 3, man. I got everything else right.
Dang. 3 out of all them. Let's go. Christian with the nice picks. We're going to send this man to do some pick'ems.
Man, I just had most of this card I just had in my pocket, dude. I just knew what WWE was going to do going in because of the way that they've been treating certain superstars going in. So I was just ready. I was ready for this.
Yeah, well, you did very well on that, sir. Congratulations on the good picks. But all in all, I thought it was an enjoyable WrestleMania. I enjoyed both nights. We cooked some awesome food. I smoked a ham and did my first ever smoked macaroni and cheese, and we put bacon on top of it afterwards. And then we also smoked queso. We did those for Saturday, and then Sunday we smoked queso and had leftovers.
Wow. I've never had smoked queso before.
Well, I will say the smoked macaroni and cheese and the smoked queso, both of those It gave it a different taste, but it was freaking amazing. Like, it's definitely gonna be something I'm gonna do more of. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
All right,
That's good to hear.
So that's gonna wrap up that topic. So we're gonna move it on along to some news that broke this week.
Yeah.
Christian, you ready for some news?
I am, man. I got some news. I'm gonna let you know about. Let everybody know about.
Okay.
As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of DC. I love DC Comics. I like a lot of DC films, not all of them, of course. I like the characters. So one of the movies that I talked about recently on the show is The Flash. That movie's been pushed back more times than like literally any movie I can think of. And Ezra Miller has been in trouble before, but he just got in trouble again not too long ago and was arrested in Hawaii for disorderly conduct, I believe. Drunken disorderly conduct, something like that. And DC, or not DC, but Warner Brothers has actually come out and put out a press release as of the time's recording. I want to say it was yesterday. And they pretty much said that any other projects with Ezra Miller, they're going to put on pause. They're just going to be on a permanent hold for a while. Or I guess permanent hold for a while isn't a great sentence, but they're going to be on hold to see what happens with him and how he's dealing with whatever he's dealing with in his life. But the movies that he has that are all ready to come out, they're still coming out. So The Flash, whenever that movie actually comes out, that's supposed to happen. It's going to be Ezra Miller. They're going to push it. They're going to do what they can do to make the money back from that movie. And then obviously we had the Crimes of Grindelwald movie, I think, just come out at the time of this recording. And it's not getting great reviews. It's getting pooped on those reviews, hardcore. But with that said, Ezra Miller has been arrested, and with that, to coincide with that, I just found out recently that the Flash movie has finally been seen by people. They finally screened it for a bunch of people, and they talked about it a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to give like too many details. So I'm definitely going to go into it. So if you don't want to hear that, you might want to skip ahead about 5 minutes. Other than that, buckle up. Here we go. So in the new Flash movie, we already know just by watching the trailers that Michael Keaton's back in this movie. And a lot of us have assumed that Ben Affleck's character is just going to die or his universe will be destroyed when Barry does whatever Barry's going to do in this movie to kind of make this new universe. But we've gotten some insight to that saying that Ben Affleck's character does have a nice ending, but they leave it a bit open-ended, like his universe isn't destroyed. So all of the stuff that happens with the Zack Snyder Justice League and what was supposed to come from that still technically happens. And if they do want to revisit that in the future, which I highly doubt they will, they can totally revisit. So that's really good news from the Flash film being, screened. And some other news is, when Barry goes to, I guess, the Michael Keaton verse, they don't have a Superman per se. They have a Supergirl. So you get Kara Zor-El coming down, I believe is who it was that comes down. It's not Superman's daughter like we originally thought it was going to be. So we get Kara coming down, and she looks like she looks. And instead of it being Clark, it's her. So Zod kind of kills Superman as a baby, is what I heard. But then that got clarified. He didn't go and strangle little Clark with with a wire or anything when he's a baby. It seems like instead of Clark being the only survivor to come through before the planet exploded, it was Kara. So we got that going on, and that's why she is the super person of this world. I know a lot of people are really upset about that because they love Superman, they love Henry Cavill's Superman, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it except for use our wallets to tell DC how we feel, to tell Warner Brothers how we feel. So we'll see what happens when the movie drops. And some other news is apparently Ezra Miller's acting in the movie is on point. He has really good chemistry with the woman that was chosen to play his mother. So all those scenes are very heartfelt, and he does a great job with what he's given. And for the people who want to know who the villain is, a lot of us, myself included, always thought that Reverse Flash was going to be the mystery villain in the movie, but it turns out that's not the case. Apparently he is mentioned, but he is not seen in the movie, so he is not the main villain. And that's pretty much all of the news I can give you without spoiling the entire movie, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, that's the news that I got. What do you think?
Okay, I'm excited. Good, sounds like good stuff coming out of the people that have seen The Flash, so that makes me optimistic. It does suck about him and his troubles and future projects and stuff like that, because I do like him as an actor, and hopefully he can figure out and clear up whatever's going on in his life, his personal issues, because I would like to see him do more stuff. But that makes me optimistic, even though it keeps getting delayed. Makes me very optimistic for The Flash, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think so, too.
All right, so some other news I wanted to touch on briefly. Not a lot to talk about with it, but Remedy and Rockstar Games announced Max Payne 1 and 2 remake for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. No
That's
release
really
dates that I've
exciting.
seen, but those that remember the good old days, I'm not even sure what year it come out, but I just remember having a gigantic freaking computer box thing for it and playing on a computer and doing bullet time and thinking it was so badass. And, of course, Max Payne popping pills and drinking whiskey and all the stuff that he's known for while shooting up baddies and stuff like that. Get revenge. We're not going to speak on the movie, though. Boo Boo Shoes movie that happened. But what was that? What'd you say?
Enjoy that? Did you enjoy playing those games back in the day? Was that really fun for you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm trying to remember what year it was. I just remember I had a really crappy computer then, and I remember playing it on it. And the fact that I could play it on it, I was really happy. But I just remember, like, I bullet time nonstop. Like, me and my cousin, we would play it some, and dude, I was just bullet timing always. I was flying around, slow-mo, shooting up stuff, and yeah. It was a good time. I enjoyed the game, so I'm curious to see how they come out. You know, a nice remake. It'd be fun to play through. I'll definitely probably play through them on stream and stuff.
That'll be really fun to see. Like, I'm not expecting too much from the remake that they do. Excuse me. I'm not expecting too much from the remake. I'm just hoping that it's, you know, the graphics are good and they kind of improve on the bullet time. Like, back in the day, it was really cool, but now that we've gotten what we've gotten with games and technology and all that stuff, it's not as nice.
Right.
So I'm really just hoping that they buckle down, they shoot for the stars with the story, as far as their graphics go, and they just give us a fun game. Like, it doesn't need to be the best game ever played. It just needs to be fun. But I will say this. Aside from that, the games that have, like, bullet time and all that, like, the best one that I ever played wasn't Max Payne. It was actually another game called, you remember True Crime? You remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, True Crime Streets of LA was, like, my jam. I played the piss out of that game. Like, my disc got all jacked up. I played it so much. And I was just like, I wish this was Max Payne, but it's not. But I do, however, remember playing Max Payne 3 and that being really good. So anyway, with that said, we'll see what happens.
I wanted to touch, you're talking about bullet time. I think they will. I mean, they'll definitely have the money. Remedy is handling development, but Rockstar is financing the project. So Rockstar money to help, you know, modernize and update everything, get everything up to par for 2022 should be good. So I'm excited about it. No dates were announced or anything like that, but they announced that, you know, it's coming. That's good. Another thing that was it come out this week, or I guess it come out last week or the week before. I can't remember now at this point. Morbius. We're not going to talk about it too much, but that come out. I saw that recently, and yeah.
Did you see it?
Huh? No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it. I just saw it. Some people say it's okay, but I'm seeing a majority of people saying it's not good. I figure we'll save that, and that'll be a topic for another day. We can go into Morbius more.
Yeah, no problem.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen a lot of stuff about it. And I'm trying to think if there's any other news recently. Is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I think that's about it. It's been a pretty light week when it comes to things like that. So the news that we gave is pretty much what is news right now.
All right. So, yeah, we'll go over more. I do have something that if you guys out there listening would like to hear, I would love to do a ranking, 1 or 2 episodes. Maybe go over, like, we talk about maybe our top 10 Marvel characters of all time, or like heroes or something like that. Or maybe even top villains or stuff like that. I would love to do that where we both have a list and we kind of go over it. So if that's something you guys would like to hear, we might could even get Papa Ding involved in that. If that's something you'd like to hear, definitely let us know. I'm sure Christian would probably be super down for that, to make some lists and stuff. Make some lists, check them twice. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. All right. But I think that's all of our topics that we have for the day. And something we've started as of late is the last call. Last call, boys.
Pass the whiskey.
So be sure to.
Pass the whiskey.
You had to do it twice.
Whiskey!
You got to do it twice to make sure you know to pass the whiskey for the last call. So this week, our question comes from the one and only Mad Sweeney. This one is for Christian. You appear to have a very knowledgeable grasp on movie backgrounds and comics. On movies, have you ever thought about being a movie critic? That is our question.
That's me. That's a great question. Short answer, yes. Yes, I have. I would love to dip my toes into that kind of realm, being a critic, because every movie critic has something to say. They have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. They're like elbows and assholes. We get it. But I just wanted to say, like, the opinions that I have on certain movies, like, I think that they're worth listening to. I'm not saying that they're like the best opinion. But yeah, man, I got some thoughts. I got some hot takes on some shit out there. There are some movies that people talk about that are really good that I'm just like, not really. And then there's some movies that people talk about that, suck, that aren't good at all. And I'm just like, actually, you should take another look at this movie. Can you imagine if I was a movie critic when, I don't know, Batman Returns came out and people were like shitting all over it? And now that we've had a resurgence of fans who love that movie and watch it every Christmas because it's absolutely a Christmas film. Like, people like me, and they're like, you know what? It's not that bad. It's kind of good. It's kind of great. So I would love, like I said, love to do that. And maybe it's something that it's not too late to do. I should try it.
Yeah, maybe we could do some reviews here. Well, that's something else we could possibly do as like to get your toes wet in it. We could maybe announce a film we're both going to watch, whether it be something like Shudder or Netflix or whatever, and then we'll both come back with notes, kind of like we're doing with Moon Knight in a way. Maybe we could talk about that. Someone have like a segment. Christian's movies or something. Christian cinema. There we go.
Ooh, I like it. It kind of sounds like we're going to church, but I still like it.
Oh my God. This guy. All right. So thank you for the question, Matt Sweeney. Definitely keep them coming. Looks like you've already got another one for us for next week, so we appreciate it. So definitely keep those questions coming. Hit us up on social media with them. One of the socials, either our personal social or the Sippin With Sin, preferably the Sippin With Sin just to keep everything separated. Or come to the Gilded server. I have a Gilded server, gilded.gg/Sinister Pack. And if it asks for an application, just put from the podcast. And then if you go down, you will see a Sippin With Sin group. And Last Call Questions has its own chat topic. So just post your question in there, and we'll definitely get to it on the air and discuss it. So thank you all so much for participating and being a part of it. Hopefully we get some more. Before long, we'll have to touch on another Sinister tale. Because it's about time that we get to another one. We'll have to do that here in the next few episodes, and we got some stuff coming up too to talk about. I mean, there's always things going on in our worlds, but yeah,
absolutely.
So, Christian, you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say before we get into the outro?
No, man. I think this was a pretty good one, and I said a lot today, so I think I'm done talking for the rest of the day.
And one thing you said that was hot air is Daenerys. You were defending Daenerys, so we're just going to ignore that.
Oh, my God.
I had to take one more shot. I have to poke the bear. This podcast isn't going to be fun if I can't poke the bear every now and then. We can't just let Christian be right. You have to keep picking at him and just making it worse.
You guys think about what I said. Every single one of you motherfuckers was on Daenerys' team until last season because... Okay, well, except for Chad, because he doesn't have a soul and he doesn't care about slaves. Apparently, that's how we can issue that one out. But yeah, man, everybody was on her team, and then you got people who were on her team because they believed in her cause, and you got the creepers who just liked her because she's pretty, and looks. Come on, guys! For all the people who are out there just looking at Daenerys all the time, quit it, stop it, quit it.
I like how you're back defending her right now. I hit that nerve again. Okay, so we know a nerve we can hit now on the podcast. Let's see what else we can find. Maybe we talk about Batgirl. Maybe that will set off a nerve too.
Don't you even start.
Oh, might have another one. There we go, everybody. But I think that should be about do it for this episode. We covered some stuff. Next week, I'm sure we'll talk about the next episode of Moon Knight. I'm sure that'll be a staple for the next 4 weeks, right? We got 4 more episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that'll be a segment we'll kind of discuss and keep going on. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely continue to spread the word of the podcast. Share it around. Post it on your socials. Pass it along to friends. Tell everybody to check it out. Check it out on YouTube. Whatever. We appreciate it. Just keep spreading the word. Let's continue to grow this community and this base. But with that being said, be sure to check out all of our socials with the Sippin With Sin, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Sippin With Sin, SIPPIN with Sin. And if you want to check out my stuff, I stream daily over on Facebook Gaming, fb.gg/IamSinisterTV, early in the morning because, well, I have a child and that's kind of what I have to do because he takes up the entire day. But so stream in the mornings over there. Also stream on Twitch some, possibly going to be streaming more in the future over there and balancing that out a little bit. But twitch.tv/IamSinisterTV. Also streaming some on TikTok Live. We are just grinding out here, boys and girls, just grinding. You can find that at, TikTok.com/@IamSinisterTV, I think, or something like that. And then, of course, Twitter, Instagram, and what else would there be? Whatever. I Am Sinister TV, and then I Am Sinister on YouTube, which you can also find a video version of this podcast every week when it drops Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Central Time, the same as when it drops on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other places. So definitely be sure to check that out. Christian, where can the lovely folks find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Venon Inc. That is VEN and Inc. on Instagram. You can see my beautiful face and all of my artwork.
You can also email him at ilovedaenerys@gmail.com.
It's actually I love Daenerys Stormborn, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of... I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Can you imagine if that was an actual email? Oh my God. Hey, what's your email? I love Daenerys Stormborn, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons. Like, all right, what? At gmail.com.
It's actually right. An Hotmail.
Do what? Oh, you want to do a Hotmail one instead?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's the worst.
All right. Well, Christian, you do this so well. Go ahead and close us out there, sir.
No problem. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Sipping with Sin. Be sure to leave a 5-star review if you can. Click that follow button. And most importantly, guys, don't get gutted.
See you guys next time.